Hi there, my name's Andrew Hewitt, Partnership Infrastructure Manager for the Humber LEP. I'm going to take a little bit of your time today just to explain to you about the Humber LEP's Single Conversation Group, what its origins are, what the group actually does, who's involved in the group, what we've achieved so far, and then finally think about the next steps for the Single Conversation Group and what applications it might have for your area. So to start off with, what is the Single Conversation Group? It was one of the early stage projects that came out of the Humber LEP when it was formed in 2011. And it was really thinking about the environmental designations which the Humber has, the Humber estuary, and obviously the fact that a lot of its development sites are very close to the Humber estuary. And so there's a very much a kind of conflict sometimes between statutory agencies and those who are looking to develop projects within the area. This Single Conversation Group was an attempt to get these groups together to be able to kind of have a pre-consultation with statutory agencies prior to development projects coming forward. So it was something that was developed out of early conversations with businesses in the Humber region. Michael Heseltine was involved, and he was very much a strong advocate for this type of approach. And it's something that we've continued to take forward since that time. So, to this end, the Single Conversation Group continues to meet. It meets as part of the Humber LEP's Investment and Regulation Board, so that board looks at very much at infrastructure issues, and again it was felt that the Single Conversation Group sits very neatly underneath that group. What it does is it meets with, as I say, people who've got projects who wish to take forward in this area, and then also with statutory agencies. So the agencies that are involved are North Power Grid, Environment Agency, Natural England, Highways England have a seat at the table, Homes and Communities Agency, Historic England and Bays, who chair the group. Also in attendance are the 4 Humber Local Authorities Directors of Development and representatives from the Humber LEP as well. So it meets on a kind of bi-monthly basis, and again what it's proved to be is a really good forum in which early discussions can take place and solutions can be found, which is the most important thing to some of these issues which do come up during project delivery phases between statutory agencies and project developers. So I'll give you a couple of examples of really good projects which have been helped through the Single Conversation Group. The first one is the development of a Siemens wind turbine assembly plant and blade manufacturing facility at Alexandra Dock in Hull. You may be aware of this project. It's a large-scale investment from Siemens which is now up and running. But in the early stages, after signing a memorandum of understanding in 2011, that Siemens would make this £160 million investment into the area, there were some key issues which needed to be overcome. The planning process was very complex for this, with a range of environmental, historic, public right-of-way barriers to overcome. The Humber LEP used the Single Conversation as a mechanism to be able to facilitate early engagement with key statutory agencies at the outset of that planning process. And what it really helped us to do is to develop those strong working relationships which then carried on throughout the planning process, then also into the delivery process as well. So what it was able to do was furnish Siemens and the local authority with good working relationships which allowed problems which did arise to be overcome quickly and efficiently to the satisfaction of the developer, obviously, to Siemens who were working to very tight timescales. Just to give you an example, speaking after Hull City Council's granting of planning permission for the wind turbine scheme, Finn Bardowling, the Siemens Hull project director, is quoted as saying, "The planning process has been very professionally managed, with excellent and proactive engagement from Siemens, ABP, the local authority, and a wide range of statutory consultees and interested parties." I think it's very clear to say that without the intervention of the Single Conversation Group, I don't think we would have been in that position. The achievement of planning permission and subsequent granting of approvals allowed the Siemens facility to commence construction within the envisaged timeframes, and ultimately led to the Siemens Green Port to be open on Alexandra Dock on the 1st of December 2016. The project unlocked a combined investment from Siemens and ABP of £310 million and will create up to 1,000 jobs directly, with additional jobs in construction and indirectly in the supply chain. This is now a key economic asset for the area, and I think the Single Conversation Group can take some real credit in helping to deliver that. The second case study that I'd like to make you aware of at this point is the delivery of this Phillips 66 replacement for the Techney pipeline. So Phillips 66 Humber refinery is located in North Lincolnshire and has a crude oil processing capacity of 221,000 barrels per day. Crude oil is processed at the refinery and is supplied primarily from the North Sea and includes low-cost acidic crudes. Humber is one of the most complex refineries in the Phillips 66 portfolio and is one of the most sophisticated in the whole of Europe. Crude oil arrives by marine tanker to offload the Tetney monobuoy in the Humber estuary. From there, oil is pumped to the subsea tank storage at the Tetney oil terminal before being tanked to a refinery for processing. Refined products are exported by ship from Birmingham docks and transported inland to customers by road, rail and pipeline. Where the single conversation group got involved is in that the crude oil pipeline was built over 40 years ago and basically was in a point where it needed to be renewed, refreshed and investment to be able to take that facility forward into the future. The import line comes ashore in the area which is now designated a site of significant scientific interest because of its environmental importance in the Humber. This requires a range of statutory agencies and Phillips 66 to work together to ensure the requisite approvals were in place to be able to deliver the project. The single conversation group were able to provide that mechanism which brought those groups together at key points during the project development, project planning and eventually project delivery. And it meant that the pipeline was able to be completed within time in mid-2016 to ensure an efficient operation of the Humber refinery well into the future. So I think those two examples just give you an idea of what the work of the single conversation group is and how we can continue to go forward with that similar projects into the future. As we said, the Humber have been quite innovative in developing this single conversation mechanism, and I think there's some real opportunities for other LEPs to take up this mechanism also, really getting to providing almost a pre-planning discussion with statutory agencies, which is often not available. We continue to invest in this group, we continue to see its importance of this group, and if you have any further questions about the single conversation group and how you might be able to use it in the future, either in the Humber or if you'd like to kind of take some of the ideas behind it and use it specifically in your areas, then please don't hesitate to contact us. My contact detail is a.hewitt@humberlep.co.uk. Thank you for your time.